Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Health Collective podcast. It's fantastic to have you all here with us today. And in today's episode, we're talking about being able to reach goals without limitations, without self-sabotage, without the feeling that those goals are in some way never going to happen. And we're discussing that today with Natasha Sakota. Now, she's originally from South Africa, now living in Switzerland near George Clooney, I've just discovered, which is something she didn't tell me before. So we're all going to go and visit her very soon. Yeah. And Natasha's journey of life has really shown that no one and nothing can break us as individuals, and that we can really achieve a life of joy and peace. Having got cancer of the thyroid back in 2013, it really woke her up to how important balance is in life and how closely connected the mind and body are when it comes to health and enjoyment. So today we're talking about techniques and ideas to help other people on their journey in creating that balance in their own lives as well. So first of all, Natasha, really big welcome to you all the way from Switzerland. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. Well, very happy to be here with you and with all your audience. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what I'd love to do first is just to understand a little bit about your sort of background and what some turning points were for you. So we mentioned the cancer in 2013. Was that the main turning point for you in your life that led you into the sort of the roles that you hold today? Were there other points that sort of stick out for you? Give us a little bit of an understanding of your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, when I got the cancer, I thought it was kind of genetic, because my mother had it, and so it was kind of normal. Then I started to realize, oh no, it's not, because I had 3 kids and I was bringing them up and I was stressed as anything, going here and there. And I started to read up more because I didn't before. I didn't know really. And I started saying, no, it's my life, my balance, what I'm doing every day. I have to really make sure, because that was just the thyroid. But then my mom died of cancer of the stomach. So if I carry on with that belief that I'm going to follow my genes, and have that belief, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of my mother, who knows, I may land up with stomach cancer. I said no, and she died after 6 months. So it was really bad. And I thought, that's it. No more of these beliefs. And that's how I started my whole journey of studying and developing in the coaching world.
Okay. So quite a lot of sort of ingrained limitations that you had or believed you had at that time. And clearly breaking through those has really helped you in your life. So one of the things that I'd like to focus on today is the technique of hypnotherapy. So I know that you are a trained hypnotist, and it's something that probably not a lot of people in the audience have done, tried, experienced. So what is hypnotherapy and how can it help people in various aspects of their life?
Okay, so yeah, hypnotherapy is basically, we put together hypnosis. Okay, that's the first part, where we want to bypass the critical mind. So the way I was talking of my cancer was, oh my God, my mom's going to get it, very conscious and but yeah. The critical mind is actually only there 5% of the time of the day, So we actually have our unconscious that's there 90 to 95% of the time. So even if maybe I stop thinking about that, my unconscious carries on thinking about that maybe disease that I could get. So to get rid of that ingrained belief that I had got through my youth, and actually many issues come from our childhood, So we use hypnosis to allow us to get into a calm but focused state. So we are not sleeping. We go in to the body and we just are very alert. It's like the camera lens, we focus, we get rid of all sensory, stimuli from outside. That's why we close our eyes and we just want to be calm. And then the therapy part is where we go in and see, why do I have that belief? So we use techniques to get to understand, because we believe that if you don't understand why you have that belief, it's very hard to get rid of it. And then we interrupt it. We say, okay, I understood, I got it because of that, but now that's it. I'm a new person. That's not me anymore. I'm not a child. I don't have to follow the footsteps of my mother and whoever, etc., etc. And we then install a better way of thinking, but that requires repetition because it doesn't just happen overnight. So what happens many times, people go and do a hypnotherapy session and then leave it. They don't do anything afterwards. What I do is I give a recording, a personal recording to the person about ingraining the new way of life. And it's in the present, positive words, and really getting to that deliberate intention of where I want to go.
Okay. So it's interesting how you talk about the different aspects of the mind, because it's something that I bring up a lot with my clients and we discuss, but it's not something that people think about on a daily basis, is how much are we being controlled or utilizing the conscious versus the sub or unconscious. So in terms of bypassing the critical mind, why do you feel that people find that so challenging? You said for you, during that sort of the stage where you had cancer, the critical mind was really taking over. It was very afraid, it was highly strung, and it was kind of trying to run the show. So why do you feel that most people struggle to bypass the critical mind in their day-to-day? And why does that have such an effect on their sort of limitations and progressions?
Okay, let's put it this way. When we are conscious and we're aware of what's happening, then is the moment to say, why am I thinking like this? So perhaps I didn't explain properly, but in the sense that you need to be aware that you're not falling into that belief that doesn't serve you. Okay, you have to be present, actually. You have to be conscious, okay? So what happens is, since I had this belief running deep in me, and obviously when I'm conscious, I'm thinking, oh, okay, don't eat this because this will give me the cancer. So that's where the conscious comes in. Okay, and now, but because my unconscious is so used to thinking that I'm going to get it, the habit, do you understand? It's a kind of a belief that's ingrained because I believed that genes, in fact, epigenetics has completely taken away this thought, because now we know that our genes can be influenced by what we do and our environment, external, and how we manage to not have stress, to avoid stress. So it's a fine line. So we think we're conscious. So perhaps I even there made a mistake. We think we're conscious, but actually we're not.
Okay.
Because the subconscious, you fall into that habit of thinking like that. For instance, let me give you an easy example. Let's say we're a businessman, a CEO, okay? He has a way of behavior. And that behavior is one that causes him he has to really have be very present in that moment on how he's behaving, because if he does something that is default, that perhaps offends someone, he has to be aware of it. So it's very difficult, in a sense, to get into the subconscious. You need to understand where the issue is, what's the problem that I want to improve, and then we find out why you're blocked. I don't know if this explains. I think I took a bit of a round circle to get there.
We like round circles, we like them. What I'd love to sort of understand is, once someone has identified that problem that they'd like to solve, and they found the blocks that are potentially anchoring them to the current ways of being, the current behaviors, how do they then move through that to, let's say, achieve or empower themselves to create new goals? Because most people's challenges in life is that they only set goals to a certain level because that's what they believe is possible. Most people do not sit down on a daily basis and say, right, I'm going to set the goal of earning 10 million in the next 3 months. owning a dream island, buying a boat, all of these kind of, I'm taking it to an extreme here to make a point, but most of us don't set goals like that because we forever have a limitation that says that will never happen for me, so there's no point. So how could you help people in this process move through those limitations to say, you know what, anything that I want is possible if I believe it to be so? So once they've gone through the block and the problem, how does that then become a forward focus in terms of setting goals that maybe previously seemed out of reach?
Yes. So what we usually do is, I love what it sounds like, manifesting in a way. Let's manifest. So the fact is, with this manifesting, we have to believe that perhaps that's the goal that I want. Okay. But not to focus on it too much, because it may be overpowering. Oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, what a stress. I'll never get there, because it's just too much. So you have that vision, and it's good to visualize that boat sitting there. But then you really have to take the individual steps. So it's usually recommended to write down each and every step you're going to take, and every day review them and relook at them. And also in hypnotherapy, with the registration and recording I give, we also go into this. We put their goals there so people see it, and they also see the work that is required, and they have to live it with their emotions. In other words, they have to feel it every day, see it, hear it. And I've also heard that you really also have to see what can go wrong. Visualize the failure that can go wrong. That helps a lot in making sure that we are able to stick to the goal that we would like, or to each individual task. So it's a lot of repetition. We learn by repetition, and so really forcing yourself to do it, and it can become difficult, but then we can also give ourselves a bit of a reward. Like, okay, I did this step, afterwards I'm going to get this. Reward helps as well. And but the main thing I found with my clients is that really believe you are worth it. If you don't believe you are worth it, it can be very hard to achieve almost anything, so that's why we want to really get rid of anything. It's like you can give yourself your own love. You don't need to have love from everybody. We are social creatures. We need connection. But if you are surrounded by toxicity, you can and learn to praise yourself and give you all that you need, and slowly build that confidence that is required to finally obtain the goal that you would like.
I'd like to kind of steer it a little bit towards sort of, you touched upon the idea of genetics and being able to change certain aspects of our bodies, our genes, our cells that maybe we thought were set in stone. This is who I am, this is how it's always been, therefore this is what it will be. So could you expand upon what you meant by, genetics can be influenced, can be changed by our choices and our lifestyles?
Yes, wonderful. The cell, this is the cell. So if I can use my mind, and meditation, fantastic as well. Meditation to get rid of the stress, to rebalance the brain coherent, because of the waves, we have these electrical waves. The more stressed we are, the higher the incoherence. So, and that causes, what happens is that the cell, the cell membrane, exactly, is then, how can I say, is allowed, or it opens up to that stress. And therefore you can acquire maybe a disease or something. So what is important is that with the cell, it's to maintain calmness, so that the cell is not influenced by external factors which influence your internal state. So it's the state that you got to maintain. And I saw that because when I was stressed, my poor cells couldn't survive, because I was just overworking them, overdoing it, and it just went in. And so now I'm free. 10 years are gone. No more cancer, no more anything. And so, but I do the work. I have to maintain that balance. I have to do the meditation. I have to keep myself on a positive, brain length, let's put it like that, but which then influences the body.
I mean, first of all, congratulations, 10 years on, being completely cancer-free is fantastic. So brilliant news on that.
No, thank you.
You have used the phrase balance a few times. What do you mean by balance? You said you have to keep yourself balanced, you have to do the work. So what does that look like for you? And because balance for everybody is different. So what does balance look like for you? And what does that work consistently and repetitively involve?
Yes, it's when, as soon as you start to feel that your state is becoming altered for some reason, some perhaps even external factor. You're driving a car and someone makes you crazy, or your kids, I have 3 kids, just to say, these kind of things. And often, sometimes I would get so frustrated that I would actually feel in the thyroid that I don't have. I would feel that I was overexerting. And then I had to say, Natasha, take it easy. Who cares? Don't scream, who cares? I had to learn to just let go. Actually, let going is one of the biggest releases. And often we are so hanging on to all these old, baggage, and I must be a good mother, and I have to tell him that to clean up his room and pick up his stuff every day, that kind of thing. And sometimes it's just understanding who cares, nothing's going to come to an end if he doesn't fix up his room. So it's also I'm also extremely disciplined. I do sport every day. I have my habits that I stick to that enables me to maintain that balance, and a lot of meditation and this hypnosis, which I do as well, self-hypnosis. Often I just go into my little self-hypnosis just to calm down, and to just get back to center. That's it.
Okay, so you mentioned sort of letting go, and I get that. I have 3 kids as well, so I'm totally on board with where you're coming from. And most of the women listening probably have some sort of awareness of screaming children and the rising frustration levels. So you mentioned sort of sport every day, meditation every day, these sort of habits, which are fantastic. And as another coach, it is something that I completely appreciate as well. But there will be the majority of people listening to this that say, I do not have time to meditate every day, to do sports every day, to include these things in my life every day. I have a full-time job from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. I have to do the kids' lunches, make the dinner, keep the house going. I need to somehow get some sleep. So time being probably the biggest blocker for most people. What is your approach to helping people move through that block?
Okay. Yeah, the biggest issue is, are we going to wait until the pain is really high? Or are we going to do the change before? So I waited until the pain was too high, and then I had to make the change. I really believe if you really want something, that you can get up that half an hour before to do that meditation. I always try and tell them, this is a prevention, is better than cure. So let's find a time, what resource. So it's a limiting belief. The belief that I don't have time is actually putting you back. It's a limit you're having. So we have to work on it, and we do it with hypnosis, and I can find out why. And we can find out why you're procrastinating, why you're saying I don't have time. Of course, there's also a chemical release that keeps you stuck where you are, and you're so used to being like that you cannot see the new. So we want to make that unfamiliar, probably you've heard this before, unfamiliar, and we want to make the new habit familiar. So it's got to start slowly. And hypnosis, we break it. That's why I love it so much. I really like this. We install the new habits to help the people go forward.
in terms of those sort of changes that you're saying, you said that you waited for it to become excruciatingly painful before making the change. And we have to admit that that's the same for most people. We wait until we are so uncomfortable that we have to do something. Because I always see people change for one of two reasons: desperation or inspiration.
Yes, absolutely.
And most of us wait for desperation. So what would you pinpoint as maybe some warning signs? So someone is not at that place of pain yet, where it's so at the forefront of their mind that they can't think of anything else. Those little warning signs from the universe, from your body, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
What are some of those that you've seen?
Not sleeping properly, that fatigue, all these even functions of the actual body that are not working correctly. And that's what you're into, a lot of health, like eating food, the right foods, taking care. So it's really, even nails, nails that are brittle are breaking off, you're losing hair, and you're wondering why. And all these little signs that are just, not really. I also believe just because we're getting older, and I'm sure you will agree, Rita, doesn't mean that we have to, I don't know, lose our hair and whatever. I really believe that you can maintain, yes, through a healthy living, food, sleep is so important, okay, definitely, and healthy habits. So really be aware. Okay, so this is where you need the conscious. I must be aware that this is falling out or that's happening. Otherwise, and then we're going to go bypass that and go into the unconscious to find out why you keep doing that. You see? So yeah, it's not so easy. So it's not so easy, but it can be done, and it's so much success I've seen that people just go through with this, and they can find a way. And with the recording, we give the recording 15 minutes before they go to sleep. So they work through it the whole night. And then they have to change their internal dialogue. I love to exercise. I find it so thrilling and exciting, instead of, oh my God, oh God, who wants to do this? So also your internal dialogue is, watch your words, because your words create those images, which then creates your reality, in a sense.
Absolutely. The language that we use has a huge effect on the behaviors that we then maintain. And do you see with the people that you work with, but also as someone from, one country who's moved halfway across the globe, so very different cultures, very different ways of living, and I do a lot of traveling, so again I see different experiences among the human community. Do you see any differences when it comes to people's behaviors and limitations and beliefs in different countries, or are there common threads that bypass, social or economic sort of statuses?
Yeah, well, of course, if you're eating junk food every day, that's a bit difficult. So there are some places where perhaps the propensity is higher that people, but because of, could be their economic situation, so they cannot always afford. So it depends. If the economic situation, they're quite a pure country, a lot of junk food, it could lead to more people that are unhealthy. In Switzerland, the people, I find them quite at a good level. We here they are, quite healthy, not very many obese people. But in Italy, on the other hand, the youth have one of the biggest obesity rates, the young kids, and you would be surprised. But Italy is also now had a big downfall. Their economy went quite low, and so a lot of families have been suffering, and the children have been eating like bread and pizza all day. So they really are suffering these economic downturns. So it all depends. But the habits are the usual ones. We always want to move towards what gives us that immediate pleasure. Oh, let me have that donut and let me have that pizza. It's delicious, and not thinking of the detriment that then in the future that we'll have. So people still have the habits of, how can I lose weight, or I don't do enough sport. Also studying. I have a lot of clients where children also, or kids or teenagers are struggling to be focused. It's a habit now to be on the phone. That's another difficulty that's come around. So that makes it even harder to have good habits. So yeah, there's all these different dynamics.
Sounds like that there are limitations across the board that are, just part of the human condition, regardless of sort of geographical location or culture. So what I'd really love to finish up with are some practical steps that you could maybe, give to our audience if they are finding themselves in that situation where they're not sleeping, maybe they're fatigued, maybe they're finding that they're stressed a lot, and they're starting to notice that they're getting to that place of pain. What are some practical pieces of advice or guidance that you would say this is a good starting point for you to start to reverse and shift that path that you're on?
Okay, first thing, write it down. That's the first thing I do. As soon as you have something, write it down. Then I would do the breath. Just learn the simple technique, which is based a bit on the physiological side, but it's like this. You do these 3 breaths in, so, and breathe out through your teeth, keeping your teeth clenched, and think of a ball that's deflating. Why? The breath allows you to calm down. So you clench your teeth so that you slow the exhale, and thinking of that ball will take you off your problem. It'll like relieve your mind. And so you can practice that at any time, very easy. And then there we go. How about finding out where you can go to help, get support? I think I've got mentors, support, coaches. They've helped me dramatically. So support can help you. Reading, a lot of reading, learning, and finding out all these, listening to Rita. I mean, these are amazing podcasts where, people can really find out how to, change. And now YouTube has a lot of information. Yeah, so we really are not lacking information. So you can find out whatever you need to help. And there we go. That's basically it. Write it down, do the breathing, relax yourself, and then call one of us.
I love it. I love the little breathing technique. I'm a big believer, just like you, in using breath to help regulate the system and to calm down. So really, really good steps there. And that just leads me to say, first of all, thank you so much to Natasha for joining us. Now, for those of you who do want to reach out for help, all of the ways to do so will be in the description of the podcast. So make sure that you have a look to see different ways that you can get help if you're struggling with anything in your life that's causing you some pain or stress. But thank you so much for Natasha for joining us, and thank you so much to all of you for listening. It's been a pleasure, and I really look forward to seeing everybody on the next podcast.
And thank you, Rita, and thank you. I really appreciate it, everybody else. All the best.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day, everyone.